Welcome back to the third episode of my Let's Learn series. So, as you can see, we're just outside here of the starting town for halflings and humans. I actually have already gone in here to sell my items, but I figured I should probably just jump back into this town just to sort of show you off the layout of it, and a couple of important things to note about it. So, this is the town of Derth, and it's actually a very happening town, so to speak. It's got itself a dagger shop and a swordsmith, and it's got a couple armor shops, a bow shop, it's got a gem shop, and it's got an infusion shop. Now, if you were in Thaloran, or the Chateau of Thaloran homeworld, or hometown, and you didn't find any good infusions, this would be the second place you probably look to see if you find any good ones to possibly replace your stuff with. Now, I'll note that in here, we actually have this wild infusion for the duelist, and this is slightly catching my eye, but at this point I won't worry about it too much. There's also a couple good regeneration runes over here too, specifically this regeneration infusion of sneak again, but this time it's healing us for a lot more life. Now, we already have some fairly good ones here, so we're not going to worry about them too much, but if I still need to, if I didn't find any good infusions in the Chateau town, in their infusion shop, I could come here and have a check at this one, see if they have some good stuff. So I went to this armor shop here, I sold off all the items I had from before, and I'll note that this guy here, this is the home of the start of the alchemist, and this guy's basically like Maris. So we're actually going to talk to him. And he basically offers us 3 different potions from Maris. He offers us the Elixir of the Fox, Avoidance, and Precision. For this guy, we're going to actually help him get the Elixir of Avoidance, possibly, because that'll help us increase our defense and range defense. Now, I haven't really been focusing on defense, but eventually I will on this character, as defense is a very powerful stat to eventually invest in on a Shadow Blade character. We'll actually press J at this point, and I've already talked a little bit about the pressing J to check your quests, but the Brotherhood of Alchemists in particular is a very important one to check. As you can see here, it basically gives you a list of the alchemists you're helping and what potions what do you need to create their potions. And unhappily, I have to say something here, but Sire of Derth, I do already have 2 of the ingredients he needs, but one here, the Rich Stinger. The Rich Stinger is actually a very late game enemy, so expect about 30 or 40 episodes before I even come anywhere close to finding a Rich. So we're likely not going to help Derth, the guy in Derth at all. I might help this guy here. He's got a mummified bone, a wrestling eyeball, and bone giant dust, which isn't as late-term game material as this guy's Rich Stinger. But who knows? There's also 2 other alchemists that I want to actually look for, and they're actually more important to help out first. So we'll look at that for them first before bothering with their potions at all. Now, up here is this guy called the Shady Cornac Man, and he actually has a quest for us. He's basically an agent of the arena, and he's looking for promising warriors. We're going to accept this offer, and we're going to say hi to his little combatants, so to speak. So defeat all 3 enemies. So in Derth, in the southeast, this is the arena, and we basically have to fight the enemies that pop out of this door up here. The first guy is a Halfling Slinger, and as you can probably guess from the word Slinger, this guy's ranged. He's also a halfling, so he'll have some very halflingish type of abilities as well. Now, I have to be very careful with this guy, because as you can see, he can fire at range, but luckily he has used his shot and actually shot, and it's a tile away from him. So I can use Rush right here, and charge him. He tried to hit me with Heave, and that's actually another talent that'll actually throw you backwards, but I resist his knockback so I can take him on. We'll hit him once more, and you'll notice I use another talent, Disengage. Disengage will basically send him flying back the other way from me to keep at range from me, so he can keep pelting me with his shots. Unfortunately for him though, he's dead. Now the second guy here is the Gladiator. This guy, and I'll note that by the way, these guys are all rank elite. Ranked elite enemies are usually a lot stronger than the ones I've been fighting, but these guys in particular aren't too strong, and we shouldn't have too much trouble with them. Now, this guy, the first thing he did was rush me, and that's this talent right here. And as you can see, it applies to Daze status. Now, something to know about Daze, this is a very weak stun effect. When you're dazed, you basically have half damage output, but as soon as you take any damage at all, you'll basically be knocked straight out of that Daze effect. So we're just going to hit him once and wait for him to hit us back. And as you can see, he actually took off our Daze effect, but he actually hit us with a shield pummel, which replaced it with a stun effect. Now, unlike the Daze effect, that's actually very dangerous. So we'll hit him with Wild Infusion to get rid of that, and then we'll just use our regeneration rune to start healing up this damage he did to us. Now, much like the Halfling, he has the ability to use basically a knockback ability, and this one hit. That's repulsion. And as you can see, it basically sent us flying back all the way across the screen. Now, unluckily for him, it didn't really do much. He basically had to walk up all the way up to us again to be able to attack us again. So he just hits us to knock us out of our daze effect. And as you can see, he's lower in health, so let's keep hitting him. Now he's actually kind of afraid of us. Now, I'll note that, by the way, he actually used block there. Block is a very special defensive ability, and as you can see, when he blocked us, he actually applied this sort of counter-strike debuff here. So what this counter-strike, as you see, does, the next melee attack that is inflicted on me will do double damage. So right now, if this guy hits me again, he'll actually do twice the damage he normally does. However, he doesn't have any ability to hit me just yet because he walked away. And unluckily for him, that only lasted one turn. So he actually failed to make use of his counter-strike. And he's dead. Alright, the last guy to fight is an Arcane Blade. Now, as you can probably guess from the name Arcane Blade, he's much like the Shadow Blade. Unlike the Shadow Blade though, this guy's a warrior slash mage. I'm a rogue slash mage. Unfortunately for him, rogues do lots of damage. And I don't think he'll be able to stand up against us for too long. We're going to activate our Wrath of the Woods talent right now. And we're basically going to activate our Regeneration Rune to start healing up a little bit of the damage that we've taken so far. And we're just going to start walking up to him. And I'll note, by the way, you activate Arcane Feed. If you ever play an Arcane Blade, Arcane Feed is what you use to regenerate your mana points on the Arcane Blade. It's much like the Shadow Blade's Shadow Feed ability. Now, as you can see, this guy's able to cast spells. And the first one he cast was Flame. Unfortunately for him, we can just dodge that by stepping this way. And we'll start marching towards him. And now he's in melee range. We're going to hit him with a dual strike. And as you can see, he's actually running away from us at this point. And we're just going to smash him with Flurry. So that's basically it for this arena quest. It's very easy, very fun. You'll get 2 generic points for managing to kill all 3 combatants without dying. And you'll unlock the arena mode. Now, unfortunately, they didn't drop very good items for us to use, but we can sell those in Derth and just be on our way. So we'll go over here to the shop I was selling stuff in before and just sell this stuff. One moment, the phone's ringing, I have to get it. Alright, I apologize for the break right there, I had to answer the phone. Anyhow, we're selling the items I picked up from the arena there. It's nothing too important, and I can't wear this one because I don't have the talent armor training yet. We're going to go spend our generic points that we got from that guy. But I'll note, by the way, that at this point, we don't really have anything to spend our generic points on. As you can see, I basically have these 3 options. But none of these options I actually want to spend another point in. I put a point in here in Heightened Senses because this actually gives us the ability to get to this point here. And when we have enough cunning and enough level, I can start investing a little bit in Piercing Sight as well. However, until we get to that point, we're actually going to save these generic points for these talents. Now, I will note, by the way, that if I want to, I could juggle points, and that's sort of like an advanced trick that more experienced players will do. If I want to, I could maybe drop like a couple points in here, and just play with them a little bit, and then when I'm ready to actually spend my points, I could take them out of this talent and put them elsewhere. I'm not going to do that because I feel it's an abuse of the game mechanics. It is a feature you can do, so to speak, but I feel it's one that really is detrimental to the game, and I don't really encourage you to do it. It is sort of something you have to do on certain classes, like the Arcane Blade I fought there in the arena, but at the same time, it's just not really, you know, something I really, as I said, recommend. Alright, so at this point, we've explored 2 instances of Corpool. We still have Trollmire to go through, but we're going to go pay attention to the Harvick Room over here, and we're going to try and do 1 or 2 instances of this dungeon. Now, the Harvick Room is actually what I consider to be the hardest of the starter dungeons available to any character. And in particular, it's hard because of the boss, but also because of the other stuff you can find. You have this, as you can see right here, this guy's not a regular fox, he's a sick fox. And what's happening is that these guys have special talents, and as you can see, this guy blindsided me, much like the Shadows did from that rare enemy. Enemies in here have a very special doomed and cursed-like talents. They have cursed auras, and they have cursed abilities that let them jump all over the place. Like blindsiding from this guy. As a result of all this, these guys can be very dangerous. And if you're not careful, they can rack up the damage very quickly. I recommend that if you're fighting these guys, the best thing you can do is try and just take on as few as possible at once. And just rest up whenever you get the chance. If you actually enter these levels, by the way, sometimes you'll actually find the staircase is put right in the middle of the area. If that happens, it may be wise to sort of retreat from the level and just come back at another time. I'll note, by the way, that we just got hit by the pinning status. One of these plants down here actually used an ability called Creeping Darkness, I believe it is. And what the Creeping Darkness does, it actually sends a sort of shadow up towards your character or wherever the target is, and it'll pin you down when it hits you. So we're actually pinned for a few turns, and much like with the skeleton mirror, I think it was, we're actually pinned and unable to move. And actually it was the cursed snake rider that we fought that pinned us. But anyhow, that's like what that sort of pin and status is all about. And again, we got hit by the Creeping Darkness on that white mouse, and we're pinned yet again, we can't move. And this is part of the reason I consider this dungeon hard. You'll find that a lot of these guys you're fighting actually have the ability to always basically stay on top of you, pin you down, and there's also some guys that can even detrimentally hurt you over time as well. Here's an example of a guy who did a ranged attack, for example. And his plants can also fire at you as well. And again, we get hit by poison and all the other stuff that these guys have available. So yes, in this dungeon, the best thing you can do, just try and fight as few enemies possible at any given time. And if it's too strong, just retreat and don't come back. Now, luckily, these guys weren't too dangerous, but where this can be really dangerous, though, is if you land in the middle of the room, or if you find a rare enemy in here. Because rare enemies, there's like, not a whole lot of place to escape to, and they can very easily cut you off. Rare enemies can really hand you your ass if you're not very careful in here. Alright, so this stuff, none of it's really interesting to me. I'll note, by the way, that's where I get my cunning bonus from that hat right there. So I was wondering where I was coming from. Apparently my hat's got a cunning stat increase on it. Alright, luckily we didn't land in the big room, so we can just push on into the second instance here. Now, as you can see, these are very quick instances, and this is part of the reason that this dungeon in particular is kind of hard. Because these are very small instances, the enemies in here are very tightly packed. So, at the very same time, when I say fight few enemies, you can almost always be guaranteed there's going to be a lot of enemies all over the place just to fight all at once, if you're not careful. And we got a rare enemy over there, so I have to be very careful now. We're actually going to back off. And as you can see, we got the creepy darkness following us there a little bit. As you can see, they're all hitting us from all over the place. As a result of the fact that they can pin you, and that they have ranged attacks, you can very easily underestimate how dangerous these guys can be. And they can easily kill you if you're not careful. Alright, so this guy is Gloom the Deformed Giant Crystal Rat. He is, as you can see from his talents, he's got dual strikes, so you can probably guess that this guy's going to be your Rogue, a Shadow Blade, or a Marauder, because those are the only classes that have that sort of talent. And because he's got Bear Trap, I'm going to guess that this guy's actually a Rogue class. The Rogue class is very similar to the Shadow Blade class, but the only really difference between the two is that the Rogue class is a little bit more, shall we say, cunning. He doesn't have any magic skills. He's just pure cunning based on type of rogue. Now I'm going to actually just wait for these guys to come up here like the spellcasters, like the skeleton mage I fought before. And once they get in range, and I'll note by the way that guy also has a ranged attack, I'll just get close to him, and as you can see, stun us with dual strike there. We're actually going to get rid of dual strike, activate our Wrath of the Woods, and start healing up. I'll also note by the way that he just dropped the trap on us right there. What traps are basically if you walk on them, you take damage from them. Luckily, traps don't really work well with the mobs, but they can be dangerous if you don't remember where you put them. So we put that bear trap right there. As you can see, if I step on top of it, I'll get hit by the trap, and in this case, we suffer bleeding damage from it. Luckily, I don't think it's going to be too dangerous to us because we already killed the guy, but it's a good way to demonstrate the effectiveness of traps. As you can see, we're taking actually a lot of damage right now. Here's a note where poisoning knives can be kind of dangerous. As you can see, this one's actually doing a little bit more and a little bit of damage each turn. This one's hitting me for a full 23 damage each turn I'm in play. So we're actually going to want to make use of our regeneration infusion right here to sort of heal that out. And then we have to get pinned by this guy and deal with him. And then we'll push on a little bit more. Now I got a gloomy Venus flytrap somewhere. So I rested, I stopped. I don't actually see this guy, so he's somewhere around me, but I don't know where exactly he is. We're going to use that wild infusion to get rid of that talent there. Maybe he's down here in this direction. Looks like he may be right there, but I don't think that guy specifically hit me. I'll note, by the way, I sort of used this regeneration infusion prematurely there. Uh-oh. So we got a guy flanking us over here, but we're over here sort of in this area first. We're going to try and kill these guys and then go after this guy over here. This guy's still got a little ways to walk up to us. And these guys, in particular, are a little bit more dangerous at the moment. And this guy, of course, can blindside, so... wait, what am I saying? It doesn't really matter. He's able to catch up to you when he wants to. We'll dual strike him, and then we'll just rip him through. We'll get pinned, and we'll push on. Pinned again. So yeah, you'll get hit by these pinning effects and your poison effects and everything else in here repeatedly. Alright, so we've gone through 2 instances of the Harvick Room. I'm not going to go to the 3rd level just yet because the boss is, as I said, very, very hard. And combined with the fact that the dungeon itself is, trapping me with blind sides and guys that can pin me down, I don't want to really risk going any further. Also, I picked up this insidious poison infusion over here. This is considered to be one of the other weaker type of inscriptions you can make use of. I don't recommend you ever use it. We're just going to sell that immediately and not really worry about it. Alright, so at this point, I'll note that we're actually making quite a bit of money at this point. In Derth, there's actually a special dagger shop, and I think we're actually going to pay a visit to it in a moment. Right after we sell off these items. There goes that insidious poison infusion. We're going to keep our cemetery file for later, but for now it's not too useful to us. And off we go to Derth. So Derth, as I said, has this sort of special dagger shop. We've found one very good dagger, and I'm quite happy we found the Unerring Scalpel. But we've been stuck with this old Iron Paradox dagger that we found earlier before, and it's great, but not that great at this point. We actually want to find a better weapon to replace it. So here's a dagger shop over here, knives and daggers, and you can essentially buy a better dagger possibly from this shop. Now, I'll note that something about daggers and all the other weapons, they basically are dropped into tiers. If you look on the type there, it says Weapon Dagger and Tier 1. And if I look at this one, it says Weapon Dagger Tier 2. So What these tiers do is they actually regulate how much of a stat points you need to invest in the weapon. As you can see, this one requires 16 dex, and this one requires 11. They also regulate how powerful a weapon might be, potentially. In this case, this one has like a base power of 10.5 to 13.7, and this one is a little bit stronger, so it's kind of a bad example. But sometimes you'll eventually find that tier 2 weapons are usually better than tier 1 weapons later on in the game. In this case, the tier 2 weapons that are available are really bad, and we actually also have a couple of epic items or better items here. Here's an example of basically a blue item and a purple item. Blue and purple items are usually better than the green ones that you can find. In particular, I don't think either of these are really great though. So sad to say, but there's really no good daggers for us to make use of here, which is too bad. But oh well. It's not terribly needed that we need to find a better dagger. We can possibly find one inside the dungeons, or maybe we won't really need it anyways. But it's something that we want to maybe keep a lookout for. There's a Zigger Patrol again. We'll navigate by them and then just be on our way. So this is the Rhaloran Camp, and this is the final starting dungeon that we have yet to visit. And I'll note that the Rhaloran Camp is considered to be also one of the potentially hardest starter dungeons. I don't consider it as hard as the Harvick Room dungeon, but many people will complain that this dungeon is hard just because it's got a very common and powerful spellcaster type of enemy to deal with. And generally in this game, players find that spellcaster enemies are really the dangerous ones to really deal with. Me, I consider what enemies are tactically dangerous to deal with. Here's an Elven Guard. They're usually not too dangerous, but I should probably note, by the way, that they have a talent Shield Pummel. If you remember that Gladiator that we fought in the arena, this guy basically has the same talent as that guy, so this guy can stun me. But more or less, you shouldn't worry about too much. As you can see, he can do a lot of damage as well. He actually performed a critical strike on me, I think. Wait, he actually blocked us. So this guy actually blocked us and then hit us right back for a whole lot of damage. So there's a sort of example where I wasn't watching it. He actually blocked a shot and then hit me for a lot of damage as a result. Now, I'll note something, by the way, but this is a very special dungeon. There's a gold pile here, and it's actually a result of an enemy dying here. This is one of the few maps where you'll find, if you look at this guy here, if you look at this guy's faction, it says he's enemies hostile. So this guy's from the enemies faction. However, if you go look at the Rhaloran guys, those elves like soldiers and stuff like that, you'll notice something about their faction that's a little bit different. Once we find them again. Right now we're finding lots of the enemies factions, as you can see. Alright, so here's another elf. This guy's a mage. So this is the Elven Mage. This is part of the reason why people consider this dungeon ages, because there's a guy like this. But if you look at his faction, he's from the Rhaloran faction. The Rhaloran faction and the enemies faction are actually different factions, and they're actually hostile to each other. If this guy sees an enemies faction, he'll actually attack it. But luckily for us, he's going to attack us. And he also sort of messed up by shooting us shock and not hitting us with it. So let's rush this guy and kill him. I'll note, by the way, that these star dungeons that we're playing, they can come in alternate forms. This is actually the alternate Rhaloran Camp. And what I mean by alternate, there's actually two type of different Rhaloran camps that might spawn for you. In this case, we sort of got this sort of foresty area, which has lots of rooms all over the place. The alternate form, though, is like a dungeon kind of like core pool. And by core pool, I mean it's lots of interior type of rooms and a sort of labyrinth type of design. Now, here's another type of enemy to worry about. This is the Tempest. The Elven Tempest is basically a lightning-themed spellcaster, and he does a whole lot of lightning damage to you. And he's the other reason this dungeon is considered dangerous. There's basically two different types of mage enemies in his map, and here's the really dangerous one. Now, much like the skeleton mage, we're just going to back up and let this guy come to us. We're going to press the R button to wait for him to appear, and he didn't actually appear. There he is. Rust up again. There he is. We're just going to rush this guy because he got close, and we'll kill him. And he's got a buddy in here, but we'll just kill him too. I'll note that it's him with flurry because I don't really care about having to follow up on anything else. I'm not too worried about rushing these guys, by the way, because I'm sort of in an area where, what can I say about this area? There's very limited chance there's going to be a whole lot of monsters in these dark areas, and it's so closely confined that if there's a mage, like say right there, or right here, I could like only have to walk like a couple spaces to get to him. So there's the first instance of Rhaloran Camp cleared. Nothing too hard. We're going to keep all this stuff for selling, honestly. But nothing is worth really putting... Oops. What did I just put on? Whoops! Something to note, by the way. Be very careful when using the, retrieving from the instance. It's very possible that you didn't want to sell stuff that you will, just because you're exiting the instance. And it assumes if you click that window off, that... you actually didn't mean to, keep the rest of those items, so to speak. Now, I actually put on an item here. I put on the Mossy Mindstar by accident, so we're actually going to take that off. And sadly, we sold off the rest of our equipment that we had there, but oh well. To the north, we have a mean-looking guard, so we'll deal with him. And we'll push on. You'll notice I'm making very heavy use of Flurry here. It's because I'm not really scared of anything constantly, being a threat to me. We're just going to rest up basically after every fight. Here's a piece of just static lore to go somewhere else. This isn't actually attributed to the Rhaloran Camp dungeon, but it can be anywhere, found anywhere. And in this case, it's just a little bit of fluff lore just to sort of give you into the atmosphere of Maj'Eyal. Now, I'm going to note something, by the way. This is actually another vault type of area, kind of like that 9 square, 3 by 3 square 9 tile vault with like the gold in it. Unlike the other one, though, this is actually a very dangerous vault, and I'll show you why the sort of end of this instance. And that guy fired at us. We'll dodge that. We'll rush him. And let's continue exploring on this rest of this instance. Alright, something just hit me with a hex. Down here we've got another rare enemy. In this case, it's probably the most dangerous thing you can possibly expect. This is a rare Corruptor Elven Tempest. So, a Corruptor. The Corruptor is basically a spellcaster type of class, and it basically is able to use hexes and curses on you. It also has very powerful spellcaster type of effects. So, combined with the fact that this guy's a lightning-themed spellcaster, he's now got even more powerful spells on top of that. So, because this guy's so powerful, we're actually going to run. Very, very fast. And I sort of ran the wrong way here, but whatever. We're just going to wait for this mean-looking guard to catch up to us. And we'll kill him. And I'm just going to rest up a little bit. And this guy actually came up into melee, which is very good for us because we can deal with him easily in melee. We're going to have a dual strike. And as you can see, actually hit us with a couple of effects. So this guy actually put Decrepit Disease on us. This is an example of what can be a very dangerous effect. As you can see, one of its effects is that it reduces our dexterity by 6, along with doing blight damage over 6 turns. Now, luckily this guy's about to die. He doesn't have a lot of hit points, and Flurry will just make short work of him. But that guy could have been very dangerous if we didn't possibly just take into account that he could have killed us. Alright, so we level up. And it's time to start spending our spell points somewhere. I'm going to drop a spell point in, or a talent point here in Phase Door. And I'll note that we also have Unshackled open up here. We're going to drop a point there, up there as well. And we'll drop a final point in combat accuracy. In class points, we'll drop one more point into dual weapon training. And we'll just keep training up cunning for now. Now you'll note that with my stats, I'm sort of like just sort of dividing between strength, or not strength, but dexterity, magic, and cunning. I'm more or less doing this because my skills require dex and magic and cunning, in no specific order. Part of the reason though I'm raising up my cunning so high though initially right now is just because it'll be able to affect my critical chance. But also because it'll unlock stuff like this. I actually want to get up to about 28 counting for eventually getting up this. And then eventually we'll just go back to just raising up our dexterity in mass or magic, depending on what direction I want to take this character. There's another Tempest enemy down here, but I think instead of running backwards, we're actually going to run forwards. Except we're going to run here because this is out of line of sight of him. So I moved basically where he can't see us. We're going to move here next. Then we'll move right here. And then we'll move maybe right here. And as you can see, we're a lot closer to him. And we can rush him. And he's dead and done as a doornail. Dead as a doornail. Alright, we got Elven Mage at long range. Unlike with the Tempest, this guy doesn't really have any cover for us to hide behind. However, something to know about the Elven Mage, he doesn't have very fast cooldowns on his spells. He'll fire his spells, and they'll hit you even at like long range like this instantly most of the time. But if you manage to catch him, like, firing 2 spells at you quickly, just basically keep charging him. I'm going to hit myself with Regeneration Infusion just to sort of heal up the sum of damage he's doing on me. I'm going to get rid of this Daze effect with the Wild Infusion here, and I'm just going to keep advancing on him. And apparently it actually removed the Bleeding effect instead of the Daze effect. Note that this only removes one physical detrimental effect at a time, and in this case we actually removed the wrong one. We removed the Bleeding effect instead of the Daze effect here. So as a result, because we're dazed, we can't move. It's just like the pinning effect. Note though that this guy is going to keep advancing, but ooh, very nice. So this guy actually fired off an Urban Missile as we actually saw it, so we can actually avoid that. And he's nice and close at this point just to rush him at this point. So that's done. We got a rogue enemy over here, and note that, well, this guy's stealthed, but he's over there somewhere. Dead as a doornail. Bit more lore from this area. I'll note, by the way, that I'm not specifically going to try and read all the lore or let you read it. If you really want to, maybe you can pause to sort of read some of the lore, but if you're looking for, like, what the lore is for this game, I suggest you just play it and read it yourself. Alright, so we're down to this vault. Now, I'll note that when I try and open this door, it basically says, sealed door. This door seems to be sealed off. You think you can open it. Now, when this happens, this is a very clear indication you should be careful. This represents a vault, and if we open it, you'll notice that it's basically got some sort of detrimental type of situation to face. Now, if you look at our character here, and you look at our floor, it'll say, Insight, Lit, and cannot teleport to this place. I'm in a zone where I can't use teleport abilities, so my phase door is useless. So is these guys. They can't teleport as well, I don't think. But sadly, these guys are all spellcasters. And of course, spellcasters have ranged abilities. What you want to do here is probably just want to book it right back over here and let them funnel off towards you. So we're going to use Wrath of the Woods, and we're actually just use this for defensive abilities. And we're going to back up 1. And as you can see, we already took a lot of damage from these guys. So these guys can be quite deadly if you're not careful. I'm going to back up 1 more space and hope that they don't kill me. But note that these guys could easily kill you if you're not careful. Because they have lots of spells, like Flame right there. I'm going to start healing up, and looks like they're still firing off stuff, sadly. Now, one of the skeletons just came out. I'm actually going to rush this guy. And you'll notice that they're all funneled off like this. It's possible they can still hit me, these guys back here, but they'll have to go firing through this guy first. Now, I'll note why they can hit me. Now, when you're fighting like those gemstones type monsters in the Skinchilling Caves, their tires can't go through their friends. These guys, however, with their mana frost, they can actually fire through their friends at you. So be very careful of that. Now, luckily, they weren't too tough. But that could have been a situation where they could have done a lot of damage if I wasn't careful. And as you can see, they usually guard some very nice items. In this case, they're guarding a bunch of runes and infusions. And as you can see, we've got quite a bit to choose from now. Sadly, though, I don't see any of these being useful to me at all. Alright, at this point we're just going to move all this stuff out of our inventory. And I think at this point, we're going to call it quits for this specific episode. Next time, I'm basically going to try and clear off all the bosses that remain in these star dungeons. And after that, we're basically going to show you the event dungeons and the rest of the world map. So take care for now. Or actually, you know what? Before we actually kill the recording, I'm actually going to show you selling these stuff. And we're just going to save the game for once. Since I've yet to do that once. I should do it at least once for you guys to see. We just got to get rid of our encumbrance a little bit here. And I think let's get rid of the staff right here. And let's get out of here. So I could use the raw recall to get out, but we're just going to easily just backtrack by going through 2 instances, and that'll be quick enough. We'll go to the swordsmith here, drop off our stuff. I did find a lot of infusions and runes, too bad none of them were useful to me. And that's just a tribute to the RNG. Sometimes the RNG works for you, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, so I'll note that we're level 8 at this point. This would probably be a good time to consider going maybe to the rest of Trollmire, I think. And I'll show you why we sort of held off on exploring that and just went straight to the other hardest dungeons, just because of a special instance that occurs on the 3rd instance here. So next time, I'll see you guys in Trollmire Free. We're going to hit the main menu, and that basically saves our game. And we're done. Take care.